Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies. And I'm super excited today. We have an amazing cast, and we're going to be having a conversation on being adaptable. So, for those that are watching, I challenge you to process, unpack, and I'm hoping that on today's show, we can inspire, connect, and educate you. And some of the tips and tricks that you're going to be hearing from us today are some remedies. And so, if you are feeling or going through some unfamiliar stages in your life that are really high stakes and it's really difficult to remain calm, I want you to stay open minded and listen to today's speakers. But first, in speaker rotation, I'd love for them to introduce themselves and tell us where they're calling from. Dr. Lou, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mr. Remedy. Glad to be here. Thank you so much to great panelists that are here. I'm calling in from Pennsylvania, Berks County, and so glad to be here. I'm an executive coach that serves executives and emerging leaders, and my passion is leadership. Thank you again, Mr. Remedy.
Of course, Dr. Lou, thanks so much. I'm excited to have you on and hear from you later on. In second rotation, Pete. What's up, Pete? Good to see you again. Welcome back.
Mr. Remedy, it's really great to be here. I don't know if it's a second or third, but I hope I'm in the running for top appearance in Roundtable Remedies over the years. For those watching that don't know who I am, my name is Pete Romano. My company's called Segwick. We help small businesses with their operational challenges. We help you get out of a rut and really build the business that you've always dreamed of when you were filing those LLC papers to start all those years ago.
Oh man, talk about that. Being business owner, you got to be adaptable. So if you're a business owner and you're watching, you're in the right place at the right time. And then anchoring us in tonight, talking about being adaptable, Papa Ray.
Hey, it's good to be here, Anthony. I'm a personal and spiritual transformation coach. I help you change your life by changing your mind. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. And, when you're talking about being adaptable, there are so many times in our life that we have to challenge ourselves with being adaptable. And I remember just today driving on Route 46, and I got almost sideswiped. And it's funny talking about being adaptable to situations. So I'm trying to learn on not how to cast that second stone and kind of just adapting to my situation, not just yelling in my car up at the person. So you guys would be happy. Today, I passed the test, guys. I didn't have road rage coming from New York, and so I'm really excited, So just joking around. But being adaptable is something that we all challenge ourselves with every single day. And so, Dr. Lou, just kind of jumping right into it, talk to us a little bit about what being adaptable means to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Remedy. I believe adaptability is so important. It is the ability to adjust. And so there are different circumstances that will challenge us in the process to evolve and to be able to grow and to be who the Creator has called us to be. And so I believe in inside-out leadership. So that would be mindset, accountability, and principles. So we've got to be able to have the mindset, and I'll let Papa talk about that can-do attitude, but we've got to have accountability. And accountability is the ability to be able to accelerate with an inner circle. And so if you've got a good inner circle, they're able to assist you to have that great mindset, but also to be flexible. Flexibility would allow you to grow. Flexibility allows you to be stretched, still stay blessed, although you're stressed, is what I like to tell a lot of good people. So therefore, when it comes to being adjustable, it depends on that pressure, knowing that pressure makes diamonds. So if we were open to the opportunity to evolve, it allows us then to be able to tap into levels of success as a man, as a husband, as an executive. There are different areas that we will be stretched. And so there we have to be able to adjust depending on the challenges that present themselves to us. As a husband, we may be challenged in the midst of a relationship. As a father, we may be challenged with our children. And so we want to be able to adapt and adjust in the time that we're in. You see, principles are so important. Times change, but principles don't. So principles has to do with our values as we are adapting. As we continue across this nation, the United States, where we're talking today, It gives us the ability to be able to embrace once again what our values are. If we take a look at the great book, we take a look, there's the great Apostle Paul. Great Apostle Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 22, he talked about the power of adaptability to serve all men. So I believe that human capital is so important. Your personal success is important for your organizational success. Your personal success at home will also be reflective into that success. So adaptability allows us the ability to adjust to pressure, to our values, our principles, our mindset, the way we think. So our can do, will do, must do will be challenged due to adaptability. Mr. Remedy.
Oh, I like that. You know, that can-do attitude. Papa Ray, I saw you nodding your head. What were you thinking?
Oh man, I love that accountability. That is huge. Without accountability, it's so easy to track off because we're not bouncing them ideas. I have a lot of good ideas that are not really good when I speak them out, but they made a lot of sense in my head. When I told somebody else, like, yeah, not so much. Love that accountability. That's good.
Pete,
Yeah.
when he was talking about those ideas, I saw you chuckle. What were you thinking?
Well, I don't know about. I mean, just in terms of being in agreement and when great minds think alike. In terms of accountability, I think that for me, I've just been fortunate in my world where one of the beliefs that really I hold dearly is that when you're going through any tough period of time, whether you're starting a business or struggling through marriage or divorce or just relationship problems or any kinds of challenges, health problems. In my world, thankfully, those are minimal. But for example, in the entrepreneurial world, it always helps to have somebody who's your accountability buddy that's way ahead of you in your journey. And then it also helps to have a person who's your accountability buddy who's right there next to you, experiencing the same journey for the first time, right when you're experiencing it. But then what that means to me is that it's your responsibility as a person because there's always somebody that's behind you and looking forward to your back and thinking that, wow, I wish that I was in that guy's shoes. And so it's your responsibility as a human in this world to really pay it forward and to bring that person along. And so you surround yourself with people who are, you could be accountable to them, they could be accountable to you, who are at all different points of the journey that you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and just kind of just piggybacking with that can-do attitude and just talking about some of the benefits that being adaptable brings, but being adaptable builds resilience. And, Dr. Lou, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Most definitely. Resilience is the ability to be able to return back to your original form. Sometimes when we have pressures, some individuals break in their processes. But resilience allows us to be able to go through our own process and to be able to come back to that original form. I was being reminded as I was listening two things. Number one, remember that we continue to grow and process off the shoulders of others. And there'll be other generations that will also grow on the top of our shoulders. But in between of every victory of a mountain of glory in life, there's always a valley. And it's in the valley, Mr. Remedy, that our resilience will be tested. And the only reason we get tested is to be able to testify. The only reason we get tested is to be able to let others know about our story and our process.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you talked a little bit about Paul. What was that in Corinthians that you were trying to share? How did he be? Can you tell us the story about him being adaptable?
Absolutely. When it comes to the calling about Paul adaptability, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 22, where he identifies the need of being there for all men, to be able to serve, to be able to save, to be able to give that message of hope, to give that message of transformation. And so he was able to identify with the needs of others, and in doing so, become just like them. And so the Apostle Paul teaches us in a great book. We all have this great gift inside of us as creation of God to be able to coexist, but also to be those individuals that are able to co-create with God. So as a man of faith, I believe that God gives us that gift. And the Apostle Paul teaches through his leadership, through his lifestyle of leadership and ministry of service to humanity, he was able to be adaptable to cultures, adaptable to needs, adaptable to thinking patterns, to processes, working with individuals. And it's not so much what we say, Mr. Remedy, but it's what's understood.
You know, you're absolutely right. And you know, when you think about the word adaptability, it's the ability and willingness to change your response to unexpected situations. And how willing are we when it's an unexpected situation? I'm not so sure about that, you know, and I really appreciate you sharing that about, you know, the story of Paul. And it's really interesting us as men and how we can relate and understand that a lot of situations we go through on a daily basis, others go through. And we can learn through others' failures or others' slip ups or how they handle it. And it's really important that we need to embrace those changes, and honestly, to make it smoother for ourselves and really to maintain and keep a positive mindset. Super important. Thank you so much. Dr. Lou, don't go anywhere. We're going to hear a little bit more about you with the final thoughts towards the end of the show. But thank you so much for starting us off. Pete,
Thank you.
you know, customer journey automation expert. When we're talking about being adaptable from a business owner point of view, what are some of your thoughts that come to mind?
Well, when you first invited me on to tonight's show, and the first thing that came to mind when when you mentioned the topic was how my early career. I'm in software development now, but my early career, I was in music, I was in I was in advertising, I was working for agencies in New York, and I started to figure out that recently I connected some dots in my life and realized just the value of the creative process. Because what the creative process tells you, no matter what you're creating, you could be creating graphic design, you could be creating architecture, you could be creating products, you could be creating physical, you could be creating a song, a movie. There's a certain process of second guessing your own outputs. And the idea is that no ideas are sacred, and that you once you have an idea, you need to maybe put that down and then stew on that and then revise it or evolve it. And that was something that I learned early on when you're in composition class in music school, and they say write 100 melodies. Okay, well, just write something and then write some. Don't think about it, don't think about it. And what that shows is that you have to constantly be iterating, because you don't know where the best thing is going to come from. And so adaptability as a human is uh, part and parcel of your ability to just adapt as an organism and evolve as an organism. And like you were just saying, to be able to react to outside stimuli and not just be cowed by it and not just be beaten down by it, but in fact be able to thrive on these differences. And then your adaptability is actually not only a valuable uh, talent and ability in your own world, but also it makes you stronger, because now you're working these muscles, you're working these adaptable muscles. And in your business, as you were asking me, it comes down to the world is changing all around your business, and you don't see it all happening, but it's happening slowly and it's happening over time. And so when I get into a challenge and I work with a client, we first just figure out, well, we can't adapt until we know what you're doing now. So I bring it back even earlier than the adapting process. I say, well, let's write out how your business operates now. Let's just get a starting point. Let's just get a roadmap on paper so we can at least see where you are. And now you have something to adapt from. Now you can start to pull this lever. You could turn up more digital marketing here, or you can change the subject line of an email there to get more open rates, or you could change how you compose something inside of an email to get a better click-through rate, or you can see what people are responding to on social media. And if you study it and you have this adaptive mindset, then you're not just putting things up just for putting them up's sake, but everything is a test. You're putting something out there and seeing a reaction. You're putting something out there and seeing a reaction. And so we have to not just be adaptable, but be in a permanent state of adaptation.
Hmm.
It's not just something where it's like, oh, something happened and I need to adapt right now. Like you were mentioning, maybe I was going to get some road rage. I better be adaptable at this moment. Well, you think about it, it's a funny thing to say, but you're that's a constant mindset shift, right? Like you didn't just wake up in that moment and just say, "Oh, I'm not going to get angry right now," and that wasn't a fresh idea. That was part of an entire lifespan of you figuring out I need to really work on myself and control my emotions and be the bigger person. And so this constant mindset of adaptability is important, and it really just applies to every scenario. And I'm going to blow your mind with this concept.
Okay.
I said, let's say that we have a goal in business. I want to earn $100 million in the next 5 years. That's my goal. Well, there's a certain set of specific actions and specific words and a specific tasks that you can do every day that will guarantee that goal. You don't know what those are, but you'll never find them out if you're not just trying this, trying that, try this, try that, try, constantly adapting. Because working backwards from that goal, there you could sort of picture that some perfect amount of tasks, activities, words, meetings, encounters, we're not going to get to perfect, but how can I work my way towards perfect by trying different things and adapting around all the obstacles that come in my way?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you're talking about here is creative problem solving. And they say that if you approach challenges from multiple angles and you devise innovative solutions, like thinking outside the box or considering, unconventional ideas, you got to be flexible. And I think that we talked about that earlier about being adaptive is being flexible. Dr. Lou, I saw you nodding your head. What are your thoughts?
Yes, well, I was hearing Pete, and I heard that word again. We have to be able to evolve. And when we talk about evolving, coming in from a leadership perspective for an organization, you have to be an intelligent leader that has strong enough and deep enough emotional intelligence to be able to withstand the winds of change, to be able to be open and be flexible when you're building your team, when you're developing leadership, to be able to have a level of security. You see, you either win or you learn. It's not that you win and you lose. So the process of learning is where adaptability begins to have that metamorphosis. The butterfly comes to life. And so I think what Pete was saying, because that evolution, that evolving process, as I was hearing Pete, that's what was getting me.
Yeah, like
You
I
wanna
really think
address
that I really think that everything that we do in business and in life, you have to sort of think about we're all just an organism here, and even our business is like an organism, and your organism has sort of walls around where it sort of starts. That's what makes something an organism, is where your piece of life just sort of ends around the edges. You have a cell barrier, right? And then you stop. But you're always responding to all of these inputs, and some things are going to be nourishing and some things are going to be energy sucking from you, and it's you're just like this little amoeba in this very complex world. You have all of these complexities that are just boiling down on us: family and the Dow Jones, and whatever's happening in the election, and your pet just ran away, and all of these things are just kneading at us. And but then you have these positive moments where you're being infused with positivity. Like I was just playing in a show and I had a band reunion with some people that I haven't seen in 20 years, and that was an incredibly energy infusing moment. But then back to Monday, and different things just tugging at your coattails and slowing us down. But constantly evolving is really where you need to be.
Yeah. Papa Ray, any thoughts on that?
I love the emotional intelligence. That is the key to everything. And I just wrote down as you were talking there, Pete, Never despise a challenge because it creates new ideas, and new ideas create new things. But if you never have a challenge, you're not going to have to come up with a new idea. So I love that.
Right.
Adaptability is embrace the challenges. So many times we want to like, no, I don't want the challenge. No, not the challenge. You're not going to come up with new ideas because you don't need to.
Now, when we're talking about being challenged with new ideas, as men, as leaders in our community, as business owners, how about being open to feedback? What are your thoughts on that? Anybody?
The I'll just go like again, citing early collaboration. You really have to be a team player in all things, I believe. And when you're in a songwriting environment, when you're in a creative environment, it's really easy to have your ego bruised so easily by just not but by people who didn't even intend to be, because you're going to put your idea out there, and then people are going to comment on it. They're going to respond to it. They're going to respond positively. They're going to respond negative. They're going to love it, but they're going to say, "Oh, well, that's great, but what if we did it like this?" And you need to be able to really process all of that. And especially all of us in this world of service providing, we're just there to push the buttons for the person who has the real vision. So we need to be ready to not fall in love with our own ideas and be able to take the constructive criticism of others.
Right. Dr. Lou, anything you want to add?
Yes, yes. I want to piggyback off Papa Ray and jump right back into Pete. Following what Papa Ray was talking about emotional intelligence, I would dare say a quote. I can't find a person who that is, but never waste a good crisis, which brings us a good opportunity. So every crisis or every challenge that comes before us is an opportunity for us to be able to evolve and develop and to be able to process through. Secondly, feedback. I would dare say that feedback, a person once said, is the breakfast of champions.
Hmm.
So piggybacking off what just Pete just shared, it's an opportunity for us to, once again, to be able to grow. It goes back to the old adage that I shared before. It's not about winning and losing. We win and we learn. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. It's the opportunity for people to help us in our blind spots, help us in areas of gaps. That's why I talk about, when my coaching experience, it's about accountability to accelerate, Mr. Remedy. It's not just accountability of where you are, where you want to be, but it's about the process of how can I get from point A to point B? What's that valley? What's the gap that would allow me to get to that next level? So I thank you, Pete, for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, what you guys made me think about right now are speed bumps. And speed bumps are not meant to stop us. They're meant to slow us down to see what's in our blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you brought up blind spots, I thought about speed bumps. And when you're trying to adapt, you got to adapt your speed, right? If it's 5 miles per hour, you're going 25 miles and now you see those, you don't pay attention to that speed bump. Well, I hope you don't have the expensive tires and rims, because you might mess up your car, right? But speed bumps is super
Well, that's
important.
good.
All the things that we're talking about, I think, is crucial. And Pete, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. What are some challenges you think that business owners are facing now in the 21st century, especially with AI and automation? What kind of suggestions would you suggest to them on being adaptable, running a business in today's world?
Well, sure. There's this concept in business of operational inertia, and it's a little bit of a physics and business term where inertia represents an object's ability to sit still or move forward depending on whether it was pushed or not pushed. And so operational inertia might generally be described as the negative side of the lack of innovation, the lack of being agile and changing with the times. And so you see a lot of companies, especially companies that are bigger, and as you add more staff, more headcount, they just become calcified in how they do things, and if something is working, that becomes the process, and there's nobody really permanently employed at that organization to always be looking at those processes and saying, well, let's try to do it better, let's try to do this differently, let's measure this. And so for me, with businesses, like, it gets back to laying out your processes from beginning to end, seeing where the friction is, and then really beginning to optimize those processes for efficiency, optimize for cash flow, optimize for customer experience, and but just never just resting on, we've always done it this way.
Right, right. That the old school way. And it's okay. You can kind of,
Right.
keep to that those type of ways. But if you're looking to grow and if you're looking to communicate and you want to compete in today's market, you might have to be innovative, accept feedback, and advance in these challenges. Yeah, 100%. I hear you.
Yeah, and they say that you're not going to lose your business to AI necessarily, but you'll lose your business to another business that's using AI.
Whenever we encounter a new opportunity to adapt, I want to encourage you to embrace the change and maintain that positive attitude. Embracing change sets a precedent for future adaptability. And so if you find yourself with your spouse, with your boss, with what I was sharing with earlier, possible road rage, be adaptable. And when you start to see those body triggers the next time, you know how to react. And with time and consistency, it'll get better and better in those situations. And so, Pete, I really appreciate. Thank you so much for coming on. And don't go nowhere. We still have a final thought segment towards the end of the show. So let's keep it going. Papa Ray, I'm really excited to have you on. When you helped yesterday leading the conversation in the Innovators Hub, talking about procrastination and staying motivated, we really got into the core beliefs, to the root of problems and how to solve them. So I'm excited today to talk about being adaptable. And so when we talk about being adaptable, Papa Ray, what comes to mind? What are your thoughts?
Emotional intelligence, or more so emotional awareness. Everything we do is our brain. So I'm going to get into the real mechanics, into the roots of what's happening. So every event that happens in your life, and there's billions of events, your brain is researching your whole life in a nanosecond to determine what's going to happen in the next moment. And what it does, it gets the information that you put in at your core. That means what happened between conception and 10 years old. So this all happens at the speed of light. It sees the event, it calculates the meaning of the event, instantly gives you the feedback and says, I want to be safe. Now, when you don't feel safe, you cannot adapt because you don't feel safe. The bigger part of the problem is cortisol and adrenaline go racing through your body and a host of other chemicals. Now, the adrenaline just makes your heart race faster, makes your blood go to your extremities. And ironically, stress response and the adrenaline pushing your blood into your extremities, it shuts down your organs. And you're going to get sickness and illness and diseases much quicker because your immune system is greatly compromised. But more so, every time you go into stress response, this is so critical, is your cognitive thinking ability drops dramatically in a nanosecond. One factor, I want to be safe. That's the whole thing your mind is thinking. I want to be safe. What do I need to be safe? The higher level of fear, the less creative thinking processing ability you have. So imagine there is somebody comes with a new idea or new something or that they want you to adapt to, and you're not in a good mood, you're not in a good state of being, you're not going to have the cognitive thinking resources and creative ability to process appropriately what they're talking to you about. And if somebody comes to you and like right in your face with it, you're going to go, whoa, and you're going to like shut down and not be able to receive it. So here's the thing. Now, let's take this to another level. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 says, nothing knows the depth of a man other than the spirit of a man. Nothing knows the depth of God other than the spirit of God. Our ultimate goal is to have spiritual mastery. Is our spirit's connected to the Holy Spirit, and the information is flowing. Unfortunately, if we don't have personal mastery or emotional awareness or emotional intelligence, our spirit is shut down because our emotions moves us into alignment. But it's only our spirit that can lift us up into the intelligence and the understanding and receiving. Now, if we are not emotionally lined up, it's impossible to go up in the spirit.
Hmm.
So here's the key, and this is what I call the simple step, but the hard process. You got to stop. Here's the 5 steps. Stop. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Here's the key. Why am I even thinking that? Is it true? What's the truth? Stop. What am I thinking? Why? Is it true? What's the truth? I have found, I'm going to be bold and say 99% of the time, every person I deal with, their struggle they have today is rooted before they're 10 years old, all the way from conception to 10 years old. When we go back, you know the verse, you know the truth sets you free.
Yep, yep.
That has to mean if knowing the truth sets you free, if you're not free, you don't have the truth. Where's the lie? So here comes the event. You go sideways, and you have to stop and say, whoa, 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 whoa. What am I thinking? More so, what do I believe? Because you can never stress on something you don't believe. Stress is nothing more than what do you believe about what you're thinking about. If you don't believe it, it cannot have any effect on you whatsoever. So here comes a thing that you need to adapt to. The question you have to ask yourself, if that makes me go, whoa, why? Where is the root of that belief? So that is a belief that doesn't let you move sideways, or it's a belief system that doesn't let you adjust. And let's make it clear, it's not the devil. It's your own belief, because you have authority to kick him out. The only reason we don't kick him out is because of our beliefs about ourselves. Now, when we run into this situation that we're struggling to adapt to, is we got to say, why do I have fear, anxiety, doubt, or concern? Or why don't I want to adjust? Now, you got to go all the way back. It's not in the last 10 years. It's always in the first 10 years. And I'm telling you, I've seen this happen over and over and over and over. We even get back into the womb. We correct the lie, and you will know the truth, and the truth will instantly set you free. Now, when you get your emotions in line and you get your belief system in line with what the Word of God says, now your spirit comes into a line and you connect to the Holy Spirit. And it's amazing the downloads. I mean, just absolute wisdom that comes that you wouldn't naturally have yourself. It is absolutely amazing. And I just want to say one more thing here is whenever you feel you should do something and you really don't want to do it, that's probably because you're really supposed to do it. Something amazing is going to happen. This happens to me a lot. It's like I got a sense I should go and do it. It's from my spirit. I should go and do this. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to do that. I just not really in the mood. I don't, supposed to go see one of my clients the other day. Wasn't a scheduled meeting. I'm like, man, I don't feel like driving back there. Because all morning it just kept nagging at me. I need to go talk to him. I need to go. I'm like, no, it's not. It's I got other things to do. When I went back, it was one of the most productive meetings I had. It was powerful. He needed it. His brother needed it. It was amazing. It was a God moment.
Hmm.
But there's so many times, just listen to that little, particularly when you don't want to, but you feel that calling, and that's your spirit. Don't ignore that. That's again being adaptable to listening to your spirit is, I didn't really want to do that. And then you go and do it, and you have a God moment. But just as important is every fruit has a root. Every fruit has a root. So if you see the roots and the fruits in your life you don't like, you can go to all the motivational seminars. You can read all the books. You can go and pray and get anointed and meditating and breath work, and nothing changes until you change your mind.
It's powerful.
Now, here's the thing. Stop. What am I thinking? Why am I even thinking that? When you get to the why I'm thinking that, and you got to stop blaming and shaming anybody, including the devil, because they're not doing it. The devil is only reminding you of what you already believe. He loves to tell you what you believe. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. They really did do me dirty. They did me wrong. And then you go into that whole stress response. Your cognitive thinking drops. You're not making clear decisions. You're looking to be safe. And you're setting everything up for your own good. And you're not adapting to any situations that could help you become better.
You know, I'm coming up with a couple of stories right now, and you remind me of the story of Jonah. And I think Dr. Lou, you and I were talking about this earlier, is about when you are supposed to be doing something and certain things around you are kind of showing you signs. And in the story of Jonah, if you read the good book, you kind of understand that he was on a ship and this ship was going through a bad storm. And everybody was praying, throwing things over the boat. And Jonah was laying in his bed, not doing anything. And eventually he understood that it was him that was bringing this drama. And in order for him to kind of save the situation, he had to throw himself off the boat. You know, there's two stories last week, Papa Ray, that you're talking about. There was a lunch meeting that I really didn't want to go to. I didn't want to go out. I wanted to stay home. I never really met this person. We met once briefly. And this person had fell off on a meeting with me, but they were going through something. It was a good excuse. And I had to adapt, right? I was like, you know what? You fell off on me. I don't want to reschedule. What if I had that mindset, I didn't adapt, or I was just, blaming him and like, you know what? I don't want to meet with you. Well, not only did I go to the lunch, but it was a really great steak lunch. Right? We had seafood and steak. It was great. And then on top of that, one of the buddies that was coming to visit was a friend of his I met at a networking event. He goes, Anthony, what are you doing here? And I'm like, such and such, what are you doing here? And so it was like amazing that not only did I get a great meal, I met great people, I got great new friends. And then to top it off, one of the business owners who was running a very successful business asks, hey, I'm looking to qualify for $1 million loan. Can you help me? I said, yes, I can. And so imagine that if I just stopped my opportunity, I didn't take advantage of the opportunity. Or if I was just, kind of really stuck in my core belief, like letting my pride and ego getting in the way. And honestly, I didn't know who I was going to meet. And there was a lot of fears. I'm going to a new place, a new restaurant, meeting a new person. So easily I can get that doubt to kind of brew. But I just went with it. I went, and it was the best. So right now, we're kind of going into that final thoughts part of the show, where in speaker rotation, we just kind of want to talk about what are our final thoughts to suggest, inspire, connect, and educate those that are watching. So in speaker rotation, I would love to ask Dr. Lou one more time to go over your final thoughts on today's show.
3 things I want to be able to share today. But before that, I want to thank you, Mr. Remedy, and I want to thank Papa and Pete. It's been a privilege to be here with you, sharing. 3 things. Number 1, mindset matters, which means clarity is king. Number 2, you've got an inner core and an outer core. People can only see the outer core of your actions, but the adaptability starts on the inside, which is your inner core. And number 3, for those of you of faith, we have what I call the kingdom advantage. And it's the Holy Spirit that's available for us. And if we're able to listen to the small whisper, not the loud voice, not the loud emotion, not the loud reaction, but that small, still voice to give us that God moment, to accept that lunch, to take that call, to sit down with that client. We've got the kingdom advantage where the whisper of the Holy Spirit will be able to assist us in our levels of adaptability. Thank you, Mr. Reddy.
Wow, Dr. Lou, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We have a little afterglow session where we're going to hang out in the final thoughts. Eat.
For being a good friend all these years and for keeping this good fight alive and bringing this information to those that need it. I also have 3 takeaways just on by happenstance. One of them is just the idea that adaptation is survival. Really, in business, we could all, those that are our age, maybe they remember brands like Blockbuster or Kodak or Nokia or even Sears or Toys R Us or even Yahoo, companies that were on top of the world, millions and millions of dollars at their disposal and just were taken out by people who just had a different perspective on things. And so adaptation is really survival. Number 2, a takeaway that I like is iteration fuels improvement. This constant iterating of let's see what else it can be. Well, what else can this idea be? Let's make this part better. Let's make this part better. Let's make this lyric better. Let's make this graphic better. Let's make our logo better. Constant iteration is always fueling improvement. And finally, when you can really start to focus on your systems and have things in place, the data that you are able to get should give you heart and give you courage that when you really start to focus on your systems and your processes and you start to get actual data, now you realize that you can make decisions and not have those decisions just be in a bubble, but actually make decisions based on real data from the iterations that you have come before that decision.
Those are awesome, really great takeaways. And I like that reiteration, is that the consistency, and thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being a great friend through the years as well. Don't go nowhere. We're going to hang out a little bit in the afterglow and anchoring us and closing the show. Papa Ray, final thoughts.
Yeah. So what do you gain if you gain the whole world and lose your soul? It's really all about Christ. And we cannot adapt to the ways of the Lord if we don't change what we believe about ourselves. So you can believe in God, you can believe in everything he said in his word. But if you don't believe in you, you're not going to change anything, because your number one goal is to be safe. And the second is to have relationship and connection. If you don't believe in you and you don't believe you're worthy to be loved, you're going to go out and look for counterfeit affections that are going to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So it really comes down to, again, stop. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Is it true? What's the truth? Get to the root. Get to the root of what do you believe about you? Because you're not going to change nothing until you change what you believe about you.
Powerful. And we always like to end with a closing quote. This quote tonight is from Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is one that is most adaptable to change. Go in grace, go in peace. This is Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy. I hope you were inspired. I hope you connected with us, and I hope you educated. I hope you learned something new, and I hope that you can continue on this journey. And if you need an accountability partner, you have us here. Again, go in grace, go in peace. We love you so much, Mr. Remedy. Peace out. Bye, everybody.